Scott, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming on such short notice. It's not like there's a war breaking out or anything. I mean, it isn't a laughing matter, though. This is very serious, and I just wanted to get your initial reaction on this limited operation or special operation that Putin called it in Ukraine's Donbass region.
Well, first of all, there's nothing limited about this. This is an all-out invasion of Ukraine. We've already have reports of Russian troops taking the city of Mariupol. It's supposed to be the hardest fought. That's where the Azov battalion is. Less than an hour, the city fell. Russian troops have landed in Odessa. Russian tanks are pouring out of Crimea and pouring down towards Kharkov, and it's all over. I mean, this is a massive operation, and the Ukrainian military is not up to the task. Right now, I feel bad for these guys because they've been led to believe that they can fight the Russians. They've had NATO trainers there. They've received so-called lethal weapons. Those lethal weapons were in warehouses. Those warehouses are destroyed right now. I've just watched the explosions. They're gone. Any Ukrainian who tries to use a Javelin missile will be dead the second they try to use it. But they can't communicate. They can't move. They can't do anything. All they can do is surrender or die. That's the reality of it. This is an operation that will demilitarize Ukraine.
Well, Putin, in his announcement, he said that it's limited, and he said it's just in the Donbass region. You said it's not limited. I was just about to show clips of explosions in Kiev or Kiev, however it's pronounced. I've
been pronounced Kiev from now on.
Right? Yeah. They differ from Russian to Ukrainian, right? So he's been saying it's limited. You're saying it's not. I mean, who are we supposed to believe here? Because the Western media, I mean, they said he's going to invade for a long time now, right? And even when he sent the so-called peacekeepers the other day, they called that an invasion as well. The White House called it an invasion. So it was the invasion 2 days ago, or is it today, or is it both?
Look, I just I let the facts speak for themselves. You're going to see paratroopers in Kiev. They already have paratroopers in Odessa. Naval infantry has taken Mariupol, and the tanks are pouring in. Call it what you want. That's just what it is. That's the reality. He said it was a limited operation for Donbass, but he also said that they're going to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. That means two things. One, the Ukrainian military will cease to exist. There will be no Ukrainian military when this is finished. And two, the Ukrainian government's gone because it's a Nazi regime. Not because I say so, but because President Putin has labeled it as such. And, this is a Russian operation. We in the West can sit back there and shake our heads, wag our fingers. It doesn't matter. The reality is made by Russia, and that reality is transpiring on the ground right now. Afterwards, we can dissect it and criticize it, et cetera. But, right now, I just let the facts speak for themselves. And the facts are Russia is overrunning Ukraine as we speak.
Right. I mean, he said that those exact words, that he wants to denazify Ukraine. He said something along the lines of, "Your ancestors fought the Nazis. How dare you collaborate with them now or become neo-Nazis?" I didn't get the exact translation. We haven't had a proper one yet, but. Yeah, so what does he mean by that? It's not just the Azov battalion. It's beyond that. It's the entire Ukrainian military, as you said. Is that what's being labeled Nazi now?
I don't want to denigrate the entire Ukrainian military. I'm sure that it's staffed by professional officers and soldiers who believe in the defense of Ukraine, but they've allowed themselves to be infiltrated by a radical right-wing nationalistic element whose loyalties are to, a Ukrainian nationalist named Bandera, who fought on the side of the Nazis during World War II. Yep. They've torn down memorials to, the Soviet liberators from World War II, and instead they've put up monuments celebrating Ukrainians who fought for the 12th SS Panzer Division. SS Panzer Division.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't get any more Nazi than that. And so, there's two categories of Nazis in in Ukraine. There are those who are actual Nazis, and there's thousands of them. And there's those who tolerate it, who are facilitators of this radical right-wing hateful ideology. And we in the West can sit here and go, well, come on, don't overreact. It's not that big of a deal. For the Russians, it's a huge deal. 30 million dead is a big deal. Yeah. This resonates with the Russian psyche in a way that no one in the West will understand or comprehend. So while there's a temptation in the West to say, this is just Putin exaggerating, this is Putin making a mountain out of a molehill, no, it's not. It needs to be taken seriously. It should have been taken seriously. I think there's a lot of people waking up right now understanding that maybe we should have listened more carefully to what the Russian president was saying. And had we listened and taken action, this war could have been prevented. But now it's too late. The war's on, and Ukraine as we know it is never going to exist again.
Well, I mean, that SS division that you were mentioning, I know of it because they massacred a village in France, right? Oradour. A very, very powerful a poem. And of course, my grandfather fought in World War II, RAF. So that's always resonated with me. And the Russians lost much more than we did, Brits and Americans. So I agree with you. It's a much more potent thing for them. But when you say that this is all because, the West hasn't listened to Russia's demands or Russia's concerns. The big elephant in the room here is NATO expansion, right? Do you think, I'm just going to ask you very, straight up, very clearly, do you think that this could have been avoided if, Ukraine had come out and said, we're not going to join NATO, or the West had said, we're not going to accept Ukraine, and that's final?
Yes, this war would not be happening if that had happened. You see, that creates room for a diplomatic settlement, because there's still a lot of problems between Russia and the West. But the big one, the one that was an existential threat to Russia, was Ukraine becoming a NATO member. Now, people are going to say, well, wait a minute. Even though the open door policy, Ukraine wasn't going to become a member for 10 years. That's what Germany was saying. This isn't going to happen for at least 10 years. So why the urgency? There's membership and then there's de facto membership. Okay, right now, what was happening in Ukraine was that NATO was pouring in billions of dollars of weaponry. They were sending in hundreds and thousands of trainers who were training Ukrainian military to become a de facto proxy of NATO. I mean, Ukraine had already been a proxy of NATO. They deployed troops to Iraq. They deployed troops to